these, you know, these occurrences like that she touches on when it happens within myself, it increases my capacity to communicate on another level as well. Not being so drawn up emotionally and really getting to the meat and potatoes of what the conversation or why I'm having this conversation. It actually increased my humanity. I'm gonna say just doing some of the stuff. The few weeks I catch myself like, oh, wait a minute, I'm being very defensive right now. Like, why? And I just kind of like, go another route, and it's improved my communication. So, we encourage people to talk with our family about starting a business, starting a co-op. Just being taking what we learned in the Black Print with the Collective Courage Book Club and going back to the family and giving them updates, but we're also aware of the trauma and the pain that we're dealing with on brought this book to us, and it has been tremendously helping me. And we hope that it will tremendously help the rest of the family break these patterns of dysfunctional communication, and then really be able to sit at the table and chop it up about this Black Print, and love on each other and build each other up like we're supposed to, like our ancestors have been doing. That we're going to get into a little bit more today.
Okay.
So,
yeah. All right, I feel good after learning a little bit about powerful non-defensive communication. Let's jump into collective courage, bro. We're on page 121 of chapter 5, reading the Young Negro Cooperatives League. We're in part 2, talking about the deliberate economic development that occurred in our Black communities, like adhering to the Rochdale principles, which came out about 1895. And so under this legacy subheading, page 121, we're seeing that there are few examples of African-American cooperative federations in the U.S. The Young Negro Cooperatives League was one of the first. It was a highly ambitious effort, but it was a short-lived experiment in collective Black self-determination. And like many economic cooperatives, it was unable to survive the concrete pressures of dominant social and economic system antithetical to its aim, or to sustain a base of committed supporters. And we're going to read about that thing about committed supporters in the Buffalo. So we're going to hurry up and get to that. Financing was always the most critical unsolved problem. And so that's and I think that whenever someone's starting a business, that's always one of the first things we're thinking, like, how are we going to get the money to do what we need?
of course.
So the Young Negro Cooperatives League started early in the 1930s. And by 1932, the organization had to give up its office. It stopped paying Ella Jo Baker, the executive director, and it started holding meetings in a different organization's office, the New York Urban League. Ella Jo Baker, however, did continue to act as the executive director on an unpaid basis, continuing to correspond, direct activities, and lead the organization from her home. So, commitment right there.
No question.
Yeah, the next paragraph is talking about how in 1931, the Harlem Council of the Young Negro Cooperatives League wanted to start a community house that had a dance hall, a meeting space, a banquet rooms, and dining halls. And it would also house the national organization to capitalize the project. And the timing wasn't really good, and they weren't able to capitalize, but they were, but we're always learning from our experiences and our mistakes and moving forward.
Of course.
It's saying that at the bottom of the page, the Young Negro Cooperatives League appeared to have created a ripple effect as cooperatives continued to develop from models related to, promoted by, or started through the Young Negro Cooperatives League. Recurrent themes that emerge are the importance of internal education, public education, and publicity, attendance at and affiliation with national conferences and associations, and the problems with resources and financing. And so moving over to the next page, I'm sorry you missed it. We talked about like some of the ways to not use our questions. So hopefully you go back and it'll be helpful.
Yeah, it'll be on the stories on the page to check it out afterwards, family.
Mm.
If you want to get a refresher.
And so we're seeing at the top of page 122 of Collective Courage that the example of the YNCL also highlights the larger strategy of networking and building federations of small local units, often buying clubs, into bigger citywide and regional organizations, which they call the councils, that then fed into a national organization. And this is the way to organize and create for ourselves across borders and states. In other words, has a certain thing that's happening in their community that only they know how to solve the problem for. Like in Oakland, I can't necessarily tell the folks in Baltimore how to solve what's going on over there. But if we're coming together in this national way of a federation where we got our local councils, so regionally we all talking to each other and we know what's going on. We're sending folks to the national delegation so that they know what's going on with us and we can hear what's going on with them. That's a pretty strong organizational structure in terms of making sure that folks are involved and there are multiple levels of engagement and places where we can make decisions together.
Yeah, man, that sounds like cooperation at its finest, man, in the business aspect as well as communal. As we see, a lot of the co-ops started off as study groups and, meeting, and then it grew into consumer co-ops, and then they started a bakery or a grocery store. So just coming together in our communities, starting something small and relaying what we're learning, sharing the knowledge with other people so they can start something small. Then eventually down the line, we will come together and forge something huge. So we're doing the work right now, family, and this is cooperation at its finest. We haven't filed any. Well, Repair Nations is filed, but I'm saying everybody on this stream right now, we're coming together collectively, and then we go back into our families, our own organizations, and share that knowledge. That's what he's talking about, family, and that's cooperation at its finest. And we're doing it. You guys are doing it right now. We're following in the footsteps of our ancestors. As you can see, the Young Negroes Cooperatives League. They've been heavy this whole chapter. Wanted to touch on that, family. Y'all doing it.
Yeah. And so I had posted a screenshot of what the Bureau of Labor Statistics put out in 1934. It was a circular about how to create your own consumer cooperative. And they also had bylaws and articles of incorporation ready for you then. A wealth building strategy to help those folks. And I just wanted to read a little bit from that, a little bit of the intro from that July 1934 reading, so you guys can get a sense of what the government, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, was saying back in those days. It's saying that in the past few years. It says, in hard times with decreased employment and lessened income, the wage earner is forced to take stock of his position and look about the possible ways of improving it. It is under such conditions that consumer cooperation makes its greatest appeal. Says the average working man who thinks of joining a cooperative thinks only of saving for himself the retailer's small net profit. He does not take due account of the fact that retail cooperative societies unite to form wholesales, and that these wholesales go into manufacturing and the production of raw materials, and that the great cooperative movement of the world is moving on to put into the pockets of the consumers the vast fund known as the profits of the business. This is known to be a very concrete fact in those countries where a large part of the people supply their needs through cooperative societies.
That's about the government?
Bruh.
Giving game.
Bro, that's page 1 of that circular that tells you this it told people in 1935 all of the steps to create a cooperative, step by step, literally. It was 10 cents back in those days.
What year was that?
1934.
Wow, family.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump back into the book. I just wanted to say that because Ella Jo Baker was part of the federal government starting in 1935, helping the Works Progress Administration get this information to like Harlem, folks in Harlem. So
Dear Queen Mother Ella Jo Baker.
to launch a store and a meat market, was doing $3,000 worth of business a month by October of 1931. Ted, can you have your calculator ready? We're gonna be seeing a lot of figures.
Yeah, that's over 100K. That's about 120 almost.
Okay.
Yeah, in today's time.
And then, so we're seeing that in Philadelphia, that council had started a cooperative affiliated and established a buying club. Pittsburgh and Cleveland chapters established newspaper distribution agencies. Columbia, South Carolina considered opening a full grocery store, and Washington, D.C. was exploring a shoe shine, cleaning, and press establishment. New York City started a fresh egg club. And so all the like chapters throughout the nation were doing their own experiments on how to do this thing cooperatively. Everything from newspapers to groceries and eggs.
1932 family.
Yeah.
Work.
We're seeing, and then as we get into cooperative efforts in Buffalo, we're seeing that the Citizens Cooperative Society of Buffalo, New York, was established in 1928 to afford Blacks of Buffalo an opportunity to help themselves and improve their standards of living through cooperative work and responsibility. Its founder, W.E.E. Nelson, was influenced by Booker T. Washington and Marcus Garvey, as well as George Schuler, because he was an avid reader of the Pittsburgh Courier, the same. Well, he was working as a dining car waiter for railroad companies until he could make a living from his private medical practice. Wow. So in 1929, the Cooperative Society started an education and membership campaign. Memberships cost about $5 per share. What's that, like $75 now, Tut?
$5 would be, yep, 75.38.
Okay. And most members own fewer than 5 shares. And so it had a very ambitious project, the Citizens Cooperative Grocery Market, that launched in the fall of 1931. And so they were also involved with the Negro Cooperatives League, it says, and that in 1932, in January, Schuler featured a picture of the storefront in his article about the Young Negro Cooperatives League in the Crisis, which is the NAACP's article, which is the NAACP's publication that W.E.B. Du Bois was the chief editor for until about 1934, I think.
Gotcha.
So it said that the grocery store had problems from the beginning, since it was started during the Great Depression and unemployment was high. Members also had little experience running a business. So it ended up disbanding around 1933, so about 2 years. But that next year, Nelson and others reorganized the society and began holding regular meetings. Okay, the work don't stop. And in 1935, they launched an education campaign using the name Buffalo Consumers Economic Society. Convinced that community support was essential, they launched a 4-year campaign to attract community members and educate them about co-ops through weekly educational classes. They even made a junior co-op so that the young ones could learn principles of business and cooperative economics.
That's what's up. We need another one today.
Yep. And so flash forward 5 years later, 1940, almost 100 new families joined in on the word consumers with the word cooperative. And so the Buffalo Cooperative Economic Society became a legal corporation that June and opened a new grocery store the same month. Also became an affiliate of a predominantly white league, a cooperative league. And we know that we've read in the past how sometimes they let us in, but unless we're sticking with their policies and stuff, it just doesn't work out.
Right.
And so let's see. Okay, so in the first year, they had $21,000 in sales and 3 full-time employees, several part-time employees. Okay. Can you get that number, Tut?
Yeah, 21,000 is 316,000.
Okay. All right, so they're doing good in our times. I mean, that's pretty good.
Man, no, most definitely.
Okay, and so with that money, they were able to purchase a truck to make deliveries. And then by the end of 1943, dividends. And by the end of 1944, sales had risen to about 120,000 with a net profit of more than $2,400.
Sales will be about close to 2 million.
Ooh.
And profit would look like net profit would be about 36,000. So they had 2 million in sales, family, and they profited about 36,000 in their time.
And they were employing several people part-time, and they had full-time employees. And
No
part
question.
of the expenses would be those employees. So, all right.
36,000 went a long way.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's up.
So they also operated a credit union, the Mondragon way. You got to have your own money, which was
Yes.
not quite as successful, but it was stable. In 1944, they purchased their own building, and by the late 1940s, sales had begun to slip, and the store wasn't as successful. It said that the founding members, about 10 families, put their own personal money to keep the store afloat, but it wasn't enough. And so the society disbanded in 1961, ceasing activity after almost 30 years. And so this was the longest running African American co-op in history.
There you go.
And so luckily we got some notes from the archive of Mrs. Nelson about why the store failed. So we got to know this. Yo, you got to have that business to business income.
That's true.
And that was the first thing. It's like, firstly, y'all ain't supporting. All right.
Right.
Okay.
You see that today. Yeah, like, oh man, I'm not supporting them. I would see it as competition. We gotta get out of that mindset, family. Gotta support each other. Circulate that black dollar.
And it's saying the neighborhood suffered disinvestment. So just like East Oakland, there was this benign neglect. Just like, if the black people are going to be in the urban areas, just let it rot. Basically, it was the mindset. And so that was an issue. There was another recession in the 50s. It seems like this system always has recessions pushing us back, allowing for the rich to gobble up a whole bunch, which is how they've gotten so much. And it says the rising cost of overhead and increasing number of supermarkets in the area were the final elements to which Mrs. Nelson attributed the decline of the store and the closing of it. And so it says that for more than 25 years, the society provided healthy food and accessible products, as well as business education programs for the community. But man, I mean, it seems like they were giving and they were involved in the community, but we weren't spending enough. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it looked like there were other grocery stores, from Safeway and Trader Joe's instead of Mandela's. And over time, that just led to being crushed by competition. And I've been guilty of that myself, not wanting to make that drive and make my way up to Trader Joe's. When we talked about it 2 days ago, we vote with our dollar as well, not just on voting day. We vote with our everyday actions, where we spend our money, where we put our attention to, what are we watching. That's your vote, family. So yeah, I have to hold myself accountable there too, man. We gotta support black businesses, man. Or the fact that we own less than 1% of 1% is consistently our fault. Of course we see the deliberate attacks, but where are we healing and supporting one another? Where are we consistently putting our money where our mouth is at? You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're seeing right here again, family, and still remnants. Gotta heal that. Gotta heal that, man. And it starts with the self. So go ahead, bro.
So yesterday I was saying that, I learned from my girlfriend that In-N-Out Burger and Home Depot support Trump, and thus, like, can't really go there. We talked about supporting Lowe's because they got a black CEO. Um, and in the line of Wendy's, because I thought that was a good alternative. I Googled it and learned that they also support Trump, or at least their chairman does.
Wow.
So Wendy's isn't necessarily a good option either.
Yeah.
Mandela does have a delivery service, and they use a black-owned delivery service called Pickup. So you can go onto Mandela Groceries website, order your groceries on the web, just like you can with Instacart, and a black-owned service will come and drop it off for you. So
That's what's up.
thank you for that.
I'm about to start using that myself, man. Eating and shopping and nothing. If it wasn't black, I wasn't supporting, man. What we need to do, man?
We got to
It's a
go
part
back.
of the fight. Got to go back to the black.
But we
Right.
also have to create a drive-through place that is mission aligned, bro. Because
Well,
man, like sometimes I just want to like get some fast food. Like I don't have much of it, but man, I'm just saying.
I was in talks with my brother, man, about a fast food vegan spot, something healthy, where we can slide up and get something healthy. You know what I'm saying? So who knows, man? We got any cooks or people that's food enthusiasts on the live? DM, tap in. Let's get to talking. I love it. We'll support it, but it's a democracy. We're looking for people that can kind of, till the land, and we support when needed.
Mhm.
But yeah, man.
Shouts to RG Footprint for reaching out. Like we're reading through what you sent and like super excited to see how we can work together. And yeah, y'all, like let's just keep building, moving. We're serious about like DMing us, so or emailing us. So do that because we want to help create stuff, and it starts with us, y'all.
No question, no question. Everybody, all the queens on here again. Much love, appreciation to y'all. Yeah, this is Thursday. Got one more day tomorrow. It's been a short week. Hope everybody's been able to catch up. The books is even at Mandela, bruh. And then also, perfectly imperfect, ambitiously imperfect acts about how does she order from Mandela. So maybe we can put the link up somewhere so people can.
MandelaGrocery.coop is their website.
There you go. To order the book and some groceries, family, and circulate that black dollar.
Yeah,
All
please
in one.
Anita. Please hit us up. Like I want to support.
Oh yeah, for sure, sis. Come on. Yeah. What about the Mia?
Hey,
Mama Mia. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that back.
let's get that club up. I'm down.
Okay, it's what the people want. Let's figure it out, man. Let's figure it out, bro. We got some time to talk tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that's it. I think that's it, man. We appreciate y'all. Much love consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Michael. Much love to you, bro.